Hello, my name's Jane Fisher. I'm a clinical psychologist by discipline, but I work in the School of Public Health at Monash University in Melbourne. I've had long-standing interests in understanding the most effective ways to promote women's mental health during pregnancy and in the life phase when they're caring for young children. We're very grateful to have this opportunity to talk about a program that we have worked on for more than 10 years and that's now ready to be used widely in primary care, in particular by GPs. Well, there were two main sources of inspiration, that's a good descriptor. The first one was that I've worked for nearly 20 years in a residential early parenting program at a hospital called Masada Private Hospital in Melbourne. So I've had the opportunity to meet thousands of women who are having difficulties in that first year of a baby's life. In addition to the clinical work, we've also undertaken research to understand the things that were contributing to their problems and what might assist them. But because I come from a school of public health, we're really interested in trying to understand what might prevent problems occurring in the first place. And when we looked at what programs have been implemented worldwide to prevent postnatal mental health problems among women, it's a disappointing story. People have tried continuity of midwifery care, earlier than usual visit to a GP, and intensive home visiting approaches, and really none of these have been effective. A couple of hints, though, emerged from trials that included women's partners in the program and used very practical approaches to try to increase the knowledge and skills the couple needed. So we developed What Were We Thinking as a program to be of interest and value to every parent with a new baby. And it takes an approach that says everyone has high learning needs at this phase of life, and if these can be met, then they're less likely to get very tired, to get very worried, and as a result of that, to begin to feel low in mood. The effectiveness of the What Were We Thinking program has been tested now in two community-based trials in primary care settings, both located in Victoria, but the Victorian population represents the Australian population very accurately. These trials have tested whether the program, when it's implemented by maternal and child health nurses as part of their routine practice, can lead to a lower prevalence of the common mental health problems of depression, anxiety and adjustment disorders in the first 6 months postpartum. We've undertaken these trials in a large number of local government areas in Victoria, representing the whole spectrum from the most advantaged to the least advantaged. And what we've demonstrated is that if people complete the full program, so they undertake a seminar where the materials are used to educate couples about the What Were We Thinking approaches, where they receive routine care from a primary care nurse who has been trained in taking this approach, and where they have the print materials for ongoing reference, that the prevalence of common mental disorders is reduced by 2/3 among them at 6 months postpartum. When we began developing this, we searched both online and published resources to see whether there was a precedent for the approach that we were proposing. And there was precedent for using the approaches that we advocate in early parenting services, which are a unique Australian resource. And these take a structured approach to the management of unsettled infant behaviours. And these behaviours include persistent, unsoothable crying, very frequent waking, and generally unsettled behaviour with a lot of grizzling and fussing. And we know that if parents are caring for a baby with these behaviours, it can really erode confidence and well-being. So there was significant evidence that if parents can be taught how to recognise tired cues, how to have a very predictable routine of care, and how to settle the baby using sustainable strategies, that this leads to improvements in the infant's behaviour and significant improvements in the woman's well-being. We've added to this another essential component, which is how to assist couples with renegotiating roles and responsibilities after they have a baby, because these are a very common source of conflict and tension, and many couples find that they don't know how to care for each other in respectful ways as they respond to the demands of caring for a baby and managing a household in which a baby lives. These e-mental health resources now include an interactive website, a phone app and a blog, which are proving successful in bringing these resources much more widely to the Australian community. What we're thinking addresses parents' needs from two perspectives. It addresses their needs as a couple and how they interact with and relate to each other, and it addresses the needs they have in terms of acquiring knowledge and skills to care well for a baby. The phone app breaks this information up into 26 weeks of highly specific information that people need as they progress through this very early stage of their baby's development. It's designed to be accessible and readily usable, and to present information in ways that can be understood by people who like getting it in different forms. So it includes videos, short quizzes, pieces of information, other people's accounts of what they've experienced, active learning opportunities, and most particularly it's designed to be used by women and men, and for couples to be able to communicate their experiences to each other using what they've learnt through the app. It's very helpful too in being able to refer to the app for responses to common problems that are experienced by parents with babies. So if you want to search what to do about sleeping or what to do about persistent crying, the app can be searched and give you the information and the strategies that are needed in order to respond effectively to these commonly experienced problems. The What Were We Thinking blog has been developed because we know that this first 6 months with a new baby can be an intensely lonely time for women in particular. It's a phase of life when they've often given up their close connections with their professional workplaces, and they're in the more isolated workplace of their homes as they care for a baby. And it can be a time when there are a lot of unanswered questions and experiences that they feel they're having on their own. The blog's designed to be a social space in which people can share experiences, or they might not wish to write about their own experiences, but they might find it helpful to read about other people's experiences at the same life phase. It's professionally moderated so that frequently asked questions or frequent experiences can be responded to by a primary healthcare specialist at this life phase. The blog has now been running for a sufficient period for there to be quite a large number of experiences that are documented there, and that people can find it very helpful to refer to or to consider contributing their own experience to. The What Were We Thinking website is designed to be accessible to people who might prefer not to engage in a face-to-face activity with a primary care professional, in particular a group seminar. So it contains the information in accessible formats, but its unique feature is that it's designed to be completed separately by a woman and a man, and it then enables their experiences to be combined so that they can really compare where they seem to be having a similar view and perception of what's taking place and where there are differences. And it doesn't just leave them with identifying the differences, it really then provides them with very clear suggestions about what they need to do next to reach a more common understanding of each other's changed needs at this life phase and of how their baby needs them to take a very consistent approach to establishing predictable routines of daily care. GPs are enormously important to families with new babies. Many women nowadays might not have had very much to do with a GP until they have a baby, and then they find this extraordinarily important relationship that they need with a trusted, kind, helpful primary care professional. The kinds of problems that women commonly take to GPs are problems associated with the baby. So feeling that their baby's behaviour is difficult to manage, or that the baby is crying a lot, or that the baby wakes frequently, is difficult to feed. This is an ideal time for a GP to introduce a woman to the phone app and the information that is there, but also perhaps to show her the website and to identify a particular activity that shows her what to try. It can also be very helpful if women come in and say they're feeling unhappy or worried or experiencing low mood, because it can guide the discussion around, are these some of the things you're experiencing? And we know that one of the most common contributors to low mood is the sense that her partner is not sensitive to her needs or is not participating actively in care of the baby and household life. And so a GP can use the About Parents activities, both on the app and on the website, to show people how they might begin to have these conversations with each other more constructively, and how they can use these activities to understand each other's changed needs with more sensitivity and more empathy. The most helpful thing would be if a GP can suggest a couple try some of the activities and then come back and report on progress. It might also be possible for a GP to ask a couple to come in together and to suggest to them that they begin doing some of these things together, because the GP can say with confidence, we know that if you begin to do some of these things, everyone in your family will feel better and your baby will get off to a healthier start in life. No, the program's designed to be self-contained and for people to be able to access and use it on their mobile devices or their personal computer, wherever they are, and for people to use it in real time as they're actually experiencing a problem. But it's enormously helpful to parents to feel that this is something that their GP regards as a high quality and recommended resource, because people can have a lot of uncertainty about the quality of online information and can feel uncertain about whether what they're using is reliable and is evidence-based. So while it's not essential to have the GP involved, it could be very helpful for people to hear from their GP that this is something that they can use with confidence. Conflicting, especially unsolicited conflicting advice, is enormously burdensome to parents. Every parent wants to do their very best by their baby, and being given conflicting advice, especially advice that stems just from personal opinion or experience, is no longer helpful to parents with a newborn. most informed parents want to refer to advice that comes from a scientific base. And it is important, I think, that they know that what we'll be thinking has been tested in very well designed, nationally funded trials. We've shown that it is beneficial, that there are no harms to breastfeeding or to infant development, and that it is something that can be recommended with confidence as an approach that is assured and that they can feel safe to use, rather than the opinions, the conflicting views that are widely available online and often in their personal networks. Every mother and baby needs to feel that she is being cared for as an individual, in particular by her GP. But the GP needs to be able to refer to resources that are based in scientific evidence. And they would clearly do this for any pharmaceutical prescription that they're providing, that they would want to see what is the very best evidence that underpins my prescription of this drug and its use in this circumstance. The response to management of infant behaviour has been somewhat controversial and continues to be debated. But after very careful consideration of the very strong evidence that's been developed in Australia about the best approaches to managing unsettled infant behaviours, they can feel confident that in general terms, babies respond very well to a safe, predictable world where the adults are skilled to recognise their needs and to respond with age-appropriate caregiving practices that permit the baby to have enough sleep so that they can develop and grow well, and so that periods of crying and fussing are kept to a containable and age-appropriate level. And often highly individualised care does not take into account the fact that behaviour management strategies have been shown to reduce infant crying and fussing, to improve infant sleep, to reduce child abuse and maltreatment, and to ensure that families function in safe and respectful ways. Well, it's really important that health professionals feel that they have access to the evidence. The evidence about the trials of the What Were We Thinking program have all been published in international peer-reviewed open access journals, and the references are readily available.